Hi, everybody. This is Sharon Butler from Flywire, and just wanted to do a check, and we're going to give people a few more minutes to join, and then we'll get the show started. Thanks. Give it a couple more seconds. I see people logging in. Okay, everybody, thanks for joining the webinar today. My name is Sharon Butler, and I'm the head of Global EDU at Flywire. Thanks so much for everybody for joining the call. Today, I am delighted to have as our guest Isaiah Behnke, Director of Student Account Operations at the University of Virginia, and Carolyn Kaikaka, Director of Operations, Student Financial Services at the University of Pittsburgh. And the mastermind behind the product is Dave King, our VP of Engineering at Flywire. So a couple housekeeping items in your panel on your desktop or wherever you're on, iPad, you'll see the ability to submit a question. So what we'd like to do is, as we're talking through some things, give you that opportunity to ask a question. And then when we close out at the end, we're going to have an actual demo, live demonstration. We're going to start off with conversations with Isaiah and Carolyn, have Dave go into the demo, and then we'll do questions. So hopefully that gives everybody what they need. I really appreciate everybody joining the call. I just wanted to start off with creating awareness to a lot of people know Flywire, and that we have a great reputation for listening to our clients and relentlessly delivering solutions that you need. And the product we started off in the market with is the cross-border international payments modules, and we lead the world in that solution. And in all of my travels and talking to clients, many of them asked us to do more. So today, I am pleased, and we've talked about it in the past, but to start a series, creating more awareness and insights into all of the modules that we now offer, and to let everybody know that we now have a full suite solution for all of your tuition receivable needs, and we can now provide all of your students with a user-friendly payment options. Today we're going to be showcasing, this series will be showcasing our payment plan module, and that's what we're excited to have Isaiah and Carolyn with us so that they can dig a little deeper into their experience with the solution. And let's start by welcoming them both. And Carolyn, if you wouldn't mind sharing with the audience a little bit of background about yourself.
Hi, Sharon. Thanks for having us. I've been with the University of Pittsburgh for 25 years. I've been in student financial services for the past 6 years, and we manage bill presentment and payment options, both international and domestic. Our Student Payment Center fields incoming calls and visits from students and families, and we conduct a pretty extensive outreach effort to students and families. We have an in-house collection staff, and so we also manage the regular tuition and fee payment plans for students who are in good standing, and the collections payment plans for students in collections.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thanks for giving us a look into the business there at University of Pittsburgh. Isaiah?
Yes, thanks, Sharon. I've been with the University of Virginia for a little over 4 years now, and we have integrated with Flywire in the fall of 2015. And in May of this year, we implemented the account summary, payment statements, reports, payment plans, and payment activity. And for a little more background on student financial services here at UVA, we also manage financial aid, scholarships, 529 plans, third parties. Internal collections team is also here. So at UVA, we really have the one touch point here at SFS under one roof here.
Excellent, thank you. So are we ready to talk payment plans? Let's start. You know, I know Flywire's always been obsessed with the user experience, what the student sees when they start to pay. And I'm interested in hearing, let's start with Carolyn. Can you share some of the things you hear from your students and their families about what's important to them when it comes to paying tuition?
Sure. I think one of the things that can easily be overlooked is they want clarity. They want something that's really easy to understand and a convenient way to access the account and make payments. So they definitely want a mobile-friendly solution with, options like text messaging. I think they also want the ability to self-serve. I don't think they want to pick up the phone and call for everything, and I also think they're not that interested in digging through a website. So we certainly have that, but they want the convenience of having information available to them inside the system that they're interacting with. And, obviously they also want payment options. As a public institution, we're relatively expensive, and, we recruit students from very diverse backgrounds. So we have students who are trying to cover their unmet need, and they need options to help them, sort of close the gap and keep their borrowing down as much as possible.
Understood. And Isaiah, do you find that to be similar at UVA?
We do, to the point of what Carolyn mentioned there. And in addition to the students, it's also a lot of what our internal team also values with the product and some of the needs is the ability for students to self-serve, but also when there are kind of questions that need to come through, our frontline staff has the ability to easily walk those students through a process and have the ability themselves to kind of resolve that, whether it's a one email or just a quick phone call for those students that really want to delve a little bit further into some of their financial packages. So from the internal standpoint, a lot of the needs actually align.
Got it. And in that, how important are payment plans at UVA?
They're incredibly important because we can set it up for students to go in and they can sign up for multiple plans. As they need to, we have 5, 4, and 3-month options, and we do have a 2-month option that is more agent enabled and provides our frontline staff with kind of a final stopgap solution for some of those needs. So payment plans are incredibly important. We have this year we had about 2,000 of payment plans, which was about a 22% increase. So we see that number continuing to increase.
Mm-hmm. Is there any particular plan that's most popular? You mentioned you had various ones to offer.
The 3-month plan is generally the most popular. That kind of aligns when we send out a statement notification of when the bills are due. Increasingly this year, we rolled out a 2-month plan that previously was not an option. That does require some agent intervention and some initial action on the student, whether to meet like a third down payment or through financial aid, some combination thereof, and then an agent can release that payment plan to the student and they can sign up. And there was a high activity in that last 2-month plan that we just had not had an option before. And so it was incredibly important this fall for us.
Got it. So you're basically keeping that one hidden and letting your staff use it as a tool to collect. Is that what I'm understanding? Or?
That is correct. So once the 5, 4, and 3-month plans expire, we make available the final 2-month plan. And so when students go in and they can see that, they realize that they can just make a payment and then send us a note, and then an agent can initiate it, or work with us, with our financial aid folks, to cover that 1/3 that's required down, and then they can sign up at that point. So it does become available during those final couple weeks of crunch time.
Got it. Okay, thank you so much. Carolyn, anything to add on the flexibility and payment plan options?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, to speak to Isaiah's comment about the 2-pay option. We actually implemented that in our first year, and this past fall, or this current fall, we decided to take the 2-pay option away. But when we did have it implemented, we did keep that hidden until the 3-pay option had expired. So it was just sort of passively out there for folks to stumble on if they happen to be looking for options, but we didn't advertise it. But as I said, this fall, we changed our due date to a little bit later in September, and we kind of felt that the value might not be there because it was only really extending their payment, a couple of weeks past the due date. And we heard from a surprising number of families who were very upset that we did that. So, we learned something about our population when we did that. And it's just nice to highlight, I think, the differences in how 2 different schools are using the same functionality, and that we have the option. I mean, we're still kicking around whether we want to do that again, but it's nice to know that we have that flexibility, and all we have to do is ask them to put it back.
Excellent. And I can imagine that the flexibility helps your staff manage different situations. So I'd like to focus a little bit now on the staff and what's important. We'll start with Isaiah. So if you think about your internal teams prior to introducing Flywire, what are some of the previous pain points you've experienced when managing the payment plans, or anything you'd want to comment on in general?
Yeah, I think one of the main pain points for our team was often the inability to resolve the situation right then and there when the student was on the phone. In our prior payment plan was a bit clunkier, and it required perhaps elevating up to another internal team member here at UVA, which then we had to perhaps outsource. So this really cuts down on multiple communications and empowers the frontline staff to deliver flexibly and right there with an email or a phone call and resolve it. So that was previously a pain point, and that pain point has gone away and really given our frontline staff what they need.
That's really great to hear. I don't know if Carolyn, so flexibility has been important. It's always great to hear that we've helped. And I'm interested, Carolyn, to ask you, what made you choose Flywire to work with the help with the payment plan management?
Well, we actually partnered with Flywire to help them develop it. But if we hadn't done that, I think what we would have been interested in, why we would have gone with them anyway, is that they think differently. I think they view the customer need differently. They're very customer focused and extremely collaborative. And they really built the product, with the understanding that clients would have different approaches to the same problem. So they offer customization and they offer flexibility. And so we were drawn to that, and we used it to revisit our processes and decide how we want to take advantage of all of those, that menu of options. So, they kind of flipped the model. So instead of sort of designing our processes around a one-size-fits-all system, we get to decide what our processes ought to be based on a variety of options.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent. And Isaiah, anything to add on why Flywire?
Yeah, I think just to kind of build off of what Carolyn mentioned there too, was the product is able to be designed around our business needs. And also we kind of rethought about how we were doing many processes now that we actually have more flexibility in a product. So while we were going through the implementation phase, there were some internal discussions. We were having some updates. We needed some refreshers on how to do our own internal processes. And in that process, we were able to build the product along the way with Flywire and deliver on it. And so it's been incredibly helpful just to refresh our own processes and just have that flexible partner along the way to help make it actually happen.
Thanks so much for sharing your feedback on that. It's very, very helpful. And, I think about a lot of the questions that are asked of us when we're out at meetings and if, focusing strictly on payment plan and being flexible. One of the questions that's always asked is, do you use budget only or budget to actual payment plans? So I'm wondering, Carolyn, if you could share a little bit about that with us.
Sure. We have two flavors of payment plans. On the tuition and fees side, when students are still in good standing, we use the budget to actual model. And that gives students and families the ability to go out and create a payment plan, activate a payment plan well before the term begins. So they have a budget calculator that makes sure that they're creating reasonable budgets. So it's automated, for the first couple of months. And then once the student enrolls in classes, that payment plan will automatically true up to the student account. And it will adjust those remaining installments to make sure that the payment plan is going to pay off that account in full by the time the last installment is processed. And there's a lot of really great communications that are going on at the time that keep the families informed. So it was our preference to do that on the tuition and fee side because, we think of it as a self-managing plan. So we don't have to monitor it, and students and families don't have to monitor either because they're getting notifications about what's happening on their plans. And then on the collection side, we have a different version of it. It's really an actual based plan only because those students are in collections and they have much more flexible terms because they're in a different situation. So they behave differently. So we took advantage of, having different flavors of payment plans.
Got it. So while we're talking about this, I'm curious so you're using it for traditional payment plans, past due payment plans. Anything else that I know we recently implemented Slate. I think, Isaiah, are you using payment plans for anything else?
We were able to create a special payment plan for our health insurance charge. So here at UVA, we have what's called a hard waiver process where students need to either demonstrate that they have sufficient insurance or they are enrolled in a university plan. And that is fine for most folks, but they also need a kind of a flexible payment option. So we were able to design a plan that focuses solely on that health insurance charge because it's charged all up front, and so we're able to spread it over just a couple of months. And that was something, again, we were unable to do from the fall to spring term. Students would run into issues, and this helped alleviate that for our students. We rolled it out with the soft launch this year, and there was some pretty positive feedback on it. It keeps our student health department happy with receivables and our families happy that there's an option to spread those costs a bit more. So the health insurance plan has been a huge boon. And along with that is the same user friendly interface that, and as Carolyn mentioned, the robust communication campaigns. So students can be on our fall payment plan along with the health insurance plan, along with the spring plan, and navigating those communications. It seems like it could be tricky, but Flywire pulls it off and it keeps our students and families up to date.
Thank you for sharing that. One of the questions that most people want to know is, and I'll start with you, Isaiah, since we're chatting, is how when it was time to work with Flywire, what was the contractual process like? What's the implementation and integration like? Can you give me that perspective?
Yeah, sure. Sharon, thanks. As a state institution as well, bringing on new partners can sometimes be a laborious task. However, with bringing on the payment plan and the additional features, it was quite seamless because we were able to amend our existing contract that we had with Flywire from when we implemented back in 2015. So we were able to amend that and complete the whole procurement process in about a week. So almost record time for, for the University of Virginia.
Thanks. And implementation, anything to comment on the actual IT implementation?
For us at UVA, it went incredibly smooth. We were able to implement the full product suite in 8 weeks. So once we kind of decided, we got everything up and running by May, so that way folks could sign up for the 5-month plan. And as orientation is happening and students are coming in, it was a seamless process. So the 8-week implementation was also quite an incredible feat for us.
Excellent. Carolyn, any comments there?
We had a very similar experience. I would like to mention that the integration piece, the footprint inside PeopleSoft is very small. So the way their platform is designed and the way their integration component is designed, we had very little demand on our IT team. It was just minimal. So we were very pleased about that. It was a pretty simple process.
Great. This has just been super informative for our guests, and I appreciate that. And any particular results either one would like to share? Do you see more enrollments? How about call volume to the staff? Carolyn, do you want to comment on that?
Sure. Well, we really have had very little support issues on the payment plan. They work very well. They're very elegant and efficient, and we just don't get a lot of questions about them. I think because the communications around them is so straightforward, and the interface is just really easy to work with. So we have actually had about a 20% drop in call volume since we implemented the suite, and we have, for the fall term, we've doubled our payment plan enrollment. So we've actually been able to reduce our customer service interaction or our communications with students and families, but we've improved the customer service, and at the same time we've doubled the payment plan enrollment. So we feel like we're reaching students who need us, and that's very helpful.
Thanks so much for sharing all of this. That's really appreciated, and it always makes me feel good to know that we can deliver what our clients are asking for. Some of the other modules that we're working on for the audience is that we've been working on a 529 module as well, and as we get rolling into the series, we'll be able to do some spotlights on them as well. So thank you both. I think that those on the call are probably very interested in Dave's demo. I might just want to add that one thing we failed to mention is that both UVA and University of Pittsburgh are PeopleSoft schools, and the full suite is implemented and it is in real time. So just wanted to point that over. So let me pass it over to Dave.
Thank you, Sharon.
You're welcome.
All right, so given our webinar was scheduled for 30 minutes, you're truly going to get the nickel tour because there's 5 minutes left.
I know, but this was a good discussion, right?
Yep. So we'll go through the product very quick. This is a demo, so I do log in. Keep in mind we are a member of InCommon and support single sign-on through SAML or Shibboleth. So your students will always authenticate in through your student portal versus us. But for demo purposes, I have to log in this way. All right, so there's a lot going on here, but our focus today is going to be on payment plans. But just as a quick overview, we do have a full tuition management and billing platform. As you can see, we can present account summary information, account activity information. If you're still doing traditional statement generation, we can support that. the ability to make one-time payments, and that is also a consolidated view regardless of whether you're a domestic or international payer. That user has a single seamless experience regardless of their payment method that they're going to make a payment with. As well as we have refunds, and we offer two flavors of refunds really quick. We do have our own little platform, but we're also a partner with BankMobile, and their system is integrated directly into our platform for a single sign-on as well. So the student can manage everything through us, even if you're a BankMobile customer. All right, so real quick, we're going to jump into payment plans. And so there's a variety of options that you can choose when configuring your payment plan. As both Pitt and UVA had expressed, they're using what we call our budget to actual. So we actually have three flavors of payment plans for certain schools. We can just do a budget only plan. Some schools do like that. And that's literally where we're just giving the student the power to create their own budget and in terms of how much they want to have on a payment plan. And we're just managing them through that payment cycle. That allows for students to enroll very early and kind of have control of their destiny. Some schools like that. I'm not a huge fan of it because we're really relying on the student to make a good guess at what their tuition amount is going to be. So when we get to that final installment, they may be either slightly overpaid or slightly underpaid based on how well they guessed. The other flavor of a payment plan is what we call an actual only plan. And what that does is that can turn the payment plan enrollment period on and off by each individual student. So whenever that student comes into the system, what we're doing is we're reaching into the student system and saying, are there charges on this student account yet? If so, this student's allowed to enroll in the plan. And if not, then the student doesn't see the plan to be available yet. So what's good about that plan is, we're using the student information system to manage the balance. And so when we complete the plan, the student is exactly paid in full. The downside of it is you are waiting for a tuition charge to hit their account. And if that student is not timely in registering and doing a lot of things, that can only give them a couple of month installments. So you're not giving them the longest period. Our favorite, which both UVA and Pitt have implemented, is our budget to actual. So what that allows you to do as a school is open enrollment very early. It allows the student and family to set up a budget plan at that point in time because no tuition has calculated. And then as our system moves forward in time, we will continually check the student information system to see if we see charges on the student account. And as soon as we do that, we'll inform the student and let them know that we're moving them out of the budget phase and that they're moving into the actual phase, and their plan will rebalance accordingly based on what's going on with their student account. And therefore also, each student could move from the budget to actual phase based on their own timeline on how they're registering. All right, so that's the quick overview. We'll also walk through a sign-up period here. So depending on when you enroll, they may have different enrollment options such as 5, 4, or 3. I could be enrolling in my current term. So like right now, a lot of you have spring of 2019 going on. And you can also allow for enrollment into future terms. So if you wanted to, if you knew you wanted to have a summer plan, you can have a summer plan sitting out there, as well as you can even have fall 2019 open. As crazy as it sounds to think that far ahead, you could do that. So what that allows families to do, if they're really good planners, is kind of set all those plans up ahead of time. And that way they're also bound to each term. So we import your term codes and we know when to kick those off. We know when to post the payments appropriately. And our system will warn the people as we're moving to the launch of that plan to let them know they can make any last minute adjustments. So I'm enrolling early enough for my current term. So I'm going to select a 5-month plan. So this page that says budget calculator and is in black is intended to not look good because that's really not meant to be us. If a school has a budget calculator like Pitt does, we will consume your budget calculator into this section. So that way the student is answering specific questions that you have designed to help them figure out what their estimated tuition charges are. So they'll go through and they'll answer those series of questions, right? And then based on their answers of series of questions, your budget calculator will then feed that information back into our budget worksheet, where that student can do some final changing of that information. So I may have another source of aid, for lack of better words, that's coming in from my grandma, right? Likewise, in the event you did not have a budget calculator of your own, we could just take the student to our budget worksheet and have them just kind of populate it out as they are going through the process. So I'm going to continue forward. Now we're going to ask the student how they want to pay. So one of the key things we do, and we believe is best practice, is we drive students to set up auto pay, because that allows us to actively manage them throughout their payment plan process. As you heard UVA and Pitt talk about, we have a lot of communication and campaigning around that student to keep them engaged, keep them aware of what's going on, that payments are coming up, and so forth. And so we have a very, very low default or miss rate on payment plans. And so we promote getting a student set up on auto pay. They could choose to pay either by a bank account or a credit card. And we support our service fee model for a credit card, where we can charge the student a percentage fee for paying with a credit card so that you don't have to pay any credit card fees. So that is an option. I'll go through here and I'll sign up with my bank account. All right. One of the things we do is we validate the bank accounts in real time. So the routing numbers in real time, I should state. So as I left that, our system looked up and said, okay, we know you're going to be drafting from Chase, and so it gives clear indication to the student in terms of which account they're pulling from. Go ahead and put in my account information. Go ahead and, normally there's a enrollment fee. So this $30 is our standard enrollment fee that we charge to the student. As a school, you have the ability to increase that fee if you desire a revenue share beyond that. So if you increased it to $40, there would be a remittance back to the school for the difference. I'll continue through. And then we're just finally disclosing all the terms to the student here. So we're giving one final review for them. We're laying out exactly when their installment date's going to be, what the payment amount will be, and so on. Here is where your specific terms and conditions will go, okay? So you can customize this as you see fit, put everything in there in terms of what it means to, in case they default, put in any appropriate TILA statements and along those lines. The student can print their terms and conditions, right? So lastly, they're going to agree. And when they activate this, they're also going to get an email indicating that they've activated and what they've agreed to. And the terms and conditions are attached to their email, so they have a copy of that, as well as those terms and conditions are historized in our system. So if you ever need to pull it up and see when the student agreed to them. Notice I had just completed setting up my payment plan for my current term, and the system, again, configurable. You don't have to offer this, but in this case, the system is saying, hey, while you're here, did you want to set up your next term's payment plan just to be convenient? So I could if I wanted to, but I'm just going to go to my plans. And now what the system will do is it's going to manage that student throughout the life cycle, right? So we're in a budget phase in this plan. So as we begin to approach the next installment date, we will reach into your student information system. We'll see if this individual student has a charge on their account. If so, this plan will automatically rebalance per what's on the student account. We'll inform the student that their plan has rebalanced and what their new installment amounts are. And we'll continue to manage that process all the way through until we get to the very end of the payment plan. And that student will be paid in full exactly. Kind of a quick little handy feature that our plan has too is we anticipate that the account balance, specifically when you're doing budget to actual, could go to zero at some point in time, right? So we will move from budget to actual, but then the student kind of has an epiphany, decides to drop a bunch of classes as they're resorting out what their major is. And we could do a rebalance and see that the account is zero. Most systems out there will terminate the plan because they think there's nothing left on the account. We know that our students are very indecisive and will be making changes. So our plan stays in place. We just won't run an installment that month because there's no balance, no charge to process. But then they put reset their courses, re-enroll, and their balance comes back to life, and the plan automatically comes back to life. So there's two really big benefits there. One is, historically, that student would have to call you to get another plan potentially set up. Some systems are difficult and don't allow you to set up multiple plans within that term. So you got some workarounds there, as well as the provider's usually charging an additional enrollment fee, right? So now you're getting hit, that student's getting charged twice. None of that happens with us. The student doesn't have to make a call because their plan magically comes back to life, and there's no additional enrollment fee. As far as we're concerned, their plan is good all the way until the very last installment run, even if they go zero balance across 2 of our installments. Okay, so that's the nickel tour in terms of that. One quick little show as well is I'll pull up my phone. So our system is completely mobile. So I actually get to run a iPhone on my laptop, right? Everyone gets jealous because once you like to do that. So I'll pull this up real quick. And so the handy thing is you can see that as a student, I can come in and I can see everything and manage my payment plans through my mobile phone, just as I would do from the website.
And we all know they love their phones.
And we all know they love their phones, right? So. All right, I'll turn it back over to Sharon. Again, that was a nickel tour, so there's a lot more to show about it. So.
Yes, absolutely. Go to the last slide.
Yep.
I thank everybody for being on the call and want to give people a chance to ask some questions if you want to pop them in the panel. If you don't feel like asking the question here and you'd rather ask them in person or send an email, it's a bit of a long email here, but you also, many of you may also have a Flywire relationship, but it's us_edu_sales@flywire.com. And then we have a landing page set up with some more information as well. Let's look at some of the questions here. And one of the questions is, can you provide a copy of this PowerPoint presentation? We're doing a live demo here, but we can certainly provide the PowerPoint, absolutely. Another question in the panel is, do you integrate with all ERP systems?
So today we have real-time integration with Oracle/PeopleSoft. We are an Oracle Gold partner. We also have real-time integration components for Ellucian Banner, and we are working on extending into the other ERPs such as Colleague, Power Campus, and we are in conversations with Workday for a partnership.
Yeah, and if anybody is bringing on Workday, we'd love to do all the heavy lifting for you to get that started as well.
Yep.
Okay, another question is, can you have different plans for grad and undergrad?
Yes, so the system is highly configurable. So you can configure different payment plans based on a cohort. I like to use there's a large Big Ten school out on the East Coast, and we do payment plans for them as well. And they have a medical school. And I like to joke that there's so many different cohorts in their medical school that I think each student gets a unique payment plan. But that's an example where we offer nearly like 20 flavors of payment plans based on that specific medical group study. So yeah, based on that, as long as we can get the type of cohort information from you, we can map that to a style of payment plan that is offered to them.
Okay. The other question is, can a student make an international payment?
Yes, so when a student can make an international payment at any point in time. So today, the actual payment plan itself requires if you're doing recurring payments, requires a domestic payment method. But parents could still log in and make a one-time contribution to the plan through an international dollars. But what we're rolling out in 2019 is the ability to also support international payment plans for your students. We're working on a pilot phase with another large Big Ten school, and once that goes well, then we'll make that publicly available to everyone else. Our anticipation is that should be available for fall 2019.
Right, so. That's the thing I love. We get things out there quick, right?
Yep.
So one of the questions, can you tell me a little bit more about your reporting capabilities?
Yep. So on the back end, there's a ton of reporting that comes with this. You can do future cash flow projections. So this will show you like all the plans that are scheduled and when or payments that are scheduled, how many are to run for what dollar amount on what day. There's also a whole reconciliation component. There's also a whole payment plan management component to see how many kids are on plans for what dollar amounts, what your average balance is, what your average installment length is, and you can drill into all those details. We also have analytics where we do some prediction on how we think a student is going to do to continue to keep payment. So we can make suggestions to you that we think, Sharon may default on her next installment based on some behaviors we're seeing. And so that just creates an opportunity for you to maybe do outreach to that student to ask them if they need any other assistance along with their payment plan.
Right, and I think the other thing is a lot of people ask about analytics these days, and I know one of the things we provide over the years is to let our schools know, like, where are people paying from, what option have they used to pay, is it credit card, is it ACH, is it wallet, and we're going to continue to provide those kind of analytics on the payments.
Yep.
One other thing too is the truth in lending statements.
Yep. So
do we provide those?
Yep, so we can provide a truth in lending statement on the enrollment page itself. So we're not only can it embed in the terms and conditions, but it can be displayed directly under the above that. That's just a configuration item, so you can display the TILA statement there.
Okay, I think that's it for questions. Thanks everybody. If you'd like to learn more, let us know, and have a wonderful day. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Isaiah. Thanks, David.
Yep, thank you, everyone.
Of course, great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.